Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the biggest NBA storylines for the rest of the season. Yes, one of them is tanking, but I promise we have some more interesting ones coming up along with that. What is up, everybody? I'm Tim Cato. I'm a national NBA writer for ALLCITY. I know Adam Mares likes to say that Tim Legler is the busiest man in basketball. I'm here to say that I think Adam Mares is the second busiest man in basketball, and he is, thankfully, for his sake, getting a little bit of time off this All-Star weekend. So I'm filling in. You may have read my work on the various ALLCITY sites. I've been publishing there. I've been on the show a couple times. But yeah, we're here to talk about the biggest storylines that we're going to see the rest of the year, and here to do it with me, I've got Dave DuFour. He's the host of the Athletics NBA Daily podcast. You might know, if you're a Mavericks fan, this is a deep cut. He used to be my co-host on a podcast called 77 Minutes, Dallas Mavericks podcast with the Athletics. So it's always good to have him back. He's a well-informed student of the game with takes galore. How are you doing, Dave DuFour?
I'm great, man. Well-informed is your opinion. Student of the game, I'm not sure. I enjoy basketball, man. I really like it.
You coached the Georgia national team as an assistant.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. It was fun. It's great. I love basketball.
It was fun. Are you an honorary Georgian now?
You know what? Maybe. I don't really have to pay for beer there, so I'll just take that.
So what does Georgia think of tanking? I feel like the Georgian spirit would never allow a Georgian team to lose games on purpose just because they're going to help out a future lottery pick, draft odds. I feel like that's just like antithetical to everything that country stands for.
Yeah, I don't know if I can, speak for the entire country, but yeah, I don't think that they'd be too into it. That not a lot of loser mentality there,
So I'm starting off with tanking because I think we have to. I think anybody listening to this knows, and we're going to be guilty of it too, that the next 2 months we're going to hear so much about tanking that it is.
I actually decided I'm done. This is the last time I'm talking tanking.
I kind of doubt that, but if so, I am
only
very jealous.
As it relates to the draft, because frankly, we do this every year, Tim. Sorry to cut you off, but we do this every year, Tim. Every year. And yeah, this year is especially egregious because like last night there were 14 games. 7 of them involved a team or 2 teams that are actively not trying to win games. That stinks. So I've just decided that for me, I'm just going to focus on the parts of the league that are still trying to win games, still trying to improve, trying to develop their players, because that's a new thing, is that tanking teams now even sit their young guys. It's absurd. Sorry. So yeah.
My question is, it's kind of a meta question. It's kind of a weird question to be asking as I discuss tanking, as we are on an NBA podcast about tanking. I think my question is, how hot does the discourse get? How much does this reach a critical mass where the NBA feels going into next offseason that it has to do another wave of reforms? The reforms they've done have not worked because ultimately at the end of the day, as long as you have a draft system, there is going to be incentives to be worse and to improve your odds, no matter how flat the odds are. You could say every team in the lottery has flat odds. That just moves the tanking to teams in the middle rather than the teams at the bottom. But every single concept that I have heard that involves keeping the draft system as it is in some fashion is going to involve some sort of incentivization to get worse and to improve your team. I don't think the NBA is anywhere close to considering, abolishing the draft. Like, those are the most radical ideas, because I don't think the NBA wants, I don't know if parity. I think parity is the most important thing. They don't want the best players going to the best teams. I think that's even more important than, somewhat of a sin or a blemish on the sport, that sometimes in March you're going to have pretty awful, yucky looking games. I think the NBA cares more about parity, and so they care more about keeping the draft system in place. If you were to replace it with any other huge mechanism to do this, I think that it would just allow for the possibility that the best teams are going to get a very good player. And all of a sudden, this dynasty thing, even though it ran the league for decades, this current NBA does not want that. And that's what you're setting yourself up. If you went that radical in your proposals. Obviously, we've seen Oklahoma City just by being as good as they are, broadly speaking, team building as a front office. Maybe they're going to do that anyway. Maybe there's a chance that this is all going to get messed up for the future of the sport. But I will say this, when it comes to tanking, people talk about it like it's the NBA's biggest issue, like it's the gravest sin.
Yeah, right.
It's been going on forever. And optically, it looks a bit worse this year because it is a bit worse.
If you watch games every night, it's pretty bad.
It is. It is. And that's really unfortunate. Yeah. But to me, without a question, it's not even under discussion. The NBA's most important issue is player health and player availability. Mm-hmm. And the percentage of players that do not play because of tanking is so small compared to the fact that the NBA stars keep getting hurt, that mm-hmm. they cannot stay on the court. So moving on to the second storyline, I think player health is the most important storyline from now until the end of the year. I think that unfortunately the reality we live in is that there's going to be somebody who gets hurt mm-hmm. on a contender that really matters. It's going to be a key player who's going to be out. We've also got the 65 game rule, which amplifies this even more. Wemby and Jokic are, Wemby's a favorite for defensive player of the year. Jokic is absolutely in contention for MVP. They're both teetering on the edge of that. So that's another aspect of the story. Aaron Gordon, just to name one name in particular, he's currently out right now with a hamstring, and he's expected to be back mid-March. That gives him plenty of time to ramp up. But he's missed 63 regular season games the past 2 years and counting. And when he's on the court, Denver allows 10 fewer points per 100 possessions. He's really the skeleton key to that defense. Mm-hmm. I have Denver practically in the same tier as Oklahoma City. I think they're the second best team in the league when healthy. But they need Aaron Gordon to be healthy. No amount of Peyton Watson breakout can disguise the fact that this team absolutely needs Aaron Gordon. Talking about player health, like it's going to affect every team. It's going to affect every roster. It's going to be something that we're looking at, from now until the first game of the playoffs comes in April. Aaron Gordon, I think, is an especially important case because we've seen that right now he's just needing to get in this steady form of health that, can allow Denver to be a potential team that upsets the reigning champions.
Yeah, the tanking thing and the player health thing they're not completely separated. You look at the Pacers. They lose one of their key players to an Achilles injury in Game 7 of the Finals. They lose Miles Turner in the offseason to the Bucks. Okay, they're like a misfortunate team that's they wound up having a season that's been marred by injury. So them in the tank, like the injuries kind of put them there. And so it is tied into it a little bit where if a guy goes down, well, hey, we got to pull the plug on everyone else. And it is, the incentive is there to get worse because of the draft picks. But the game is so different now than it was when the 82 game schedule was made that it is almost not the same sport. This is an above the rim sport. The change of direction. We talk all the time about centers. Now they defend from the baseline to half court. That wasn't happening 30 years ago. So unless they're going to make fundamental changes to the style of play, maybe the defense rules change, maybe the offensive rules change. You make it so that guys don't cover as much ground. I don't think that that's going to happen because right now, the product, when it's at its best, it's amazing to watch. It's highly entertaining. So the other part of this is maybe you get into a scenario where they start playing around with the schedule and maybe you need more, 3 games a week is maybe the limit. It seems like they don't want to budge off 82 games, but if ever there was a time to play around with it, it seems like now would be with the death of the regional sports network. You don't have to fill 1,230 time slots during the regular season every year. And it's a product that they already act like they don't care that much about because of, again, the tanking. So take away some of these regular season games. And again, Tim, this is another thing that we do every year. Guys, the season should be shorter. We all know it. They know it. But the money says that number needs to keep going up. And in order to do that, you got to fill TV slots with cheap television, and NBA basketball doesn't cost a lot of money to produce. You can buy it. It's going to happen every single night. Like the financial motivations behind it are exactly why we're going to just continue to see injuries like we do right now. I mean, there's no downplaying the fact that the long season, the games, the minutes, every single thing leads to more and more injuries. I mean, it's pretty clear. You don't get hurt when you're well rested usually, right? Acute injuries or whatever. The science seems pretty settled on this. So until they're willing to cut the games down, I don't see how we get around the injuries.
Yeah, the game used to be basketball. It used to be all about vertical space and how much you could elevate over an opponent, how much you could, dunk on, opposing centers at the rim.
Yeah.
And it's about horizontal space. And I think that's 100%. Like that is the evolution of the
illegal
game.
Defense also in the NBA, it used to be you weren't allowed really to cover a lot of space. And I don't think they should bring that back because, man, you ever watch any clips from those Utah Jazz, Stockton Malone pick and roll games? I mean, it's excruciating. 2 guys on one side, 3 standing on the other in a position that doesn't look anything like basketball. I don't want to go back to that. I think that the style of play that we have right now is worth figuring out a way how to preserve it. Is it a 40-minute game instead of 48 minutes? The rest of the world plays a 40-minute game. Maybe the NBA adopts that. But then you have to think about the fact that guys are chasing numbers and that those numbers have meaning that are inherent in the sport. I don't think that any of these problems that there's one solution for. It's why the tanking bothers me, but also like I understand like these teams are playing in the rules that they exist in. And with the injuries, this is the world that we exist in too. And I think they're just going to happen. So I don't know. I mean, maybe someone comes up with a training technique that changes the structure of these guys' calf muscles. I don't know. But until we figure that one out, I think that we're just going to keep seeing this.
We need a Tommy John surgery for calves.
Well, this new
mesh calf
this new mesh method that they're using on the Achilles that Jayson Tatum got, he was out of a walking boot. It felt like, I don't know, 6 weeks later. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I mean, he just played 5-on-5 full contact the other day. Not even he's like 9 months removed from Achilles surgery. So we are making advances, whether people want to admit it or not. We are making scientific advances in our world and that are improving things like this. But injury mitigation is the key. Like, how does the NBA come up with a way to prevent these injuries? And that, I mean, it's a crapshoot, right? Like you're never going to prevent all injuries, but certainly cutting down the number of minutes. Maybe it's a minutes limit. I'm not sure what it is, but then that takes away from the quality of the game. It's all going to be a balance. And I would just say overall, like the money, like for the player, that's part of the reason why they make big money, right? It's that you're putting your body on the line and hey, it may not work as well after. I understand. But I do think that the NBA needs to worry about the eyeballs that are on the sport. When you tune in and half the games don't matter and half the players aren't playing, that's a big problem at some point. Baseball just went through a huge lull and they had to make a bunch of changes to fix it and bring people back. So I'm hoping that the NBA can just, solve these problems on the fly.
And to your point, I do think that there is in some corners of the internet, there's this disingenuous push that tanking is the reason that you can't see your favorite players play.
Yeah, it's not that.
And it's not that.
No,
there are instances, there are cases, but when looking at this problem as a whole, that is not the issue. The issue is the injuries. But we could spend 20 more minutes discussing, we could spend an hour discussing this. I mean, I think these are, 1 topic, 2 topics, 3 topics, however you want to define it. These are the most important issues facing the NBA. Our idea is to put a bunch of storylines together so that people know what they're going to be hearing on the podcast they listen to, the tweets they see, the stories they read. These are the storylines that are going to matter the rest of the year. So are you ready for me to hit you with my third one?
Yes.
I haven't seen a lot of people talk about Scoot Henderson, who's finally back. He's played 3 games. We're recording this on Thursday. He'll play a 4th game tonight before this airs. So we don't know how that one went. Have you caught any of his games at all?
Yeah, I have. I caught the last 2.
I thought he looked great in the last game. Like he took the threes he needed to, was lining them up with confidence. He the explosiveness that he needs, like he just exploded past Anthony Edwards on the perimeter, finished with one of those like sizable reverse layups where he's basically alone at the other side of the rim. Like his body is making sure that like he is completely walled off any chance of a contest. I thought all of that looked really good.
He and Deni Avdija are just, I mean, relentless at driving into the paint and putting pressure on the defense. And Scoot's getting to the free throw line at a very high rate, which I love because, again, we just haven't seen him very much. So even just getting a sense of what his style is going to look like, already I see what it could be. His assist numbers are going to be great. Like when they have more shooting around him, you know, at times, I think that offense is going to hum, especially with him. Again, he and Deni, they hammer the paint. And the drive and kick game that they're going to be able to get with those two guys out there, it's going to be something. I mean, you know, this is a team that's already probably thinking about next season and how the pieces come together. But seeing Scoot, I think for the next few months is going to be key because otherwise they're going to have to figure out who's the point guard next year.
Well, let me lay this out. Let me lay this out why it's so important. Did you realize Portland has a top 14 protected first? They only keep it if it's in the top 14.
I did not know that.
So right now they're 10th in the Western Conference play-in race. It's a 5-game lead on the teams below them. They're not dropping out of the play-in tournament. They're going to be a play-in tournament team. It's quite possible they could beat the Clippers, the Warriors, probably the Clippers and the Warriors. Maybe Phoenix is currently the team in 7th. I would back Phoenix to beat either of the Clippers or the Warriors in that 7-8. It's possible Portland could rise up also, you know, and maybe even have a chance at the 7th seed. But what happens in the play-in tournament for Portland is it has a lot of impact. Obviously, this is a loaded draft class, but it's specifically loaded with point guards. They're probably going to be 5 point guards in the top 10. If Portland has the 13th or 14th pick, it might be an indication that Scoot Henderson has not been quite as good as they've needed, and they ended up losing in the play-in tournament. And all of a sudden, you now have a high draft pick that you can potentially try to trade into the top 10. You just have more flexibility. Whereas if Scoot Henderson is the guy that they need him to be the rest of the season, maybe this all kind of works itself out. Even if you get into, you know, a first round series, even if it's a, you know, an honorary one against the Oklahoma City Thunder, but you still get the experience for these guys, and you feel like the team you have is the team that you're trying to take into the future. You know, like they don't want to go into next season with Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard as their best 2 point guards. They want Scoot Henderson to be their starting point guard, to look like he's meshing with this, you know, fairly young roster. And they absolutely have missed a point guard. I mean, this is the team that leads the NBA in turnovers. This is a team that had a offense. This was a few weeks ago, but they had an offense when Deni Avdija is off the court that was worse than the average offense in 1983-84. It was that bad. And it's got better, and the team's playing a little bit better offensively. Like, you're seeing some more signs of life. It's not just the Deni show all the time. But they do need Scoot. They absolutely need Scoot to hit. And what happens to that pick and whether they need it, a lot of that rides on his shoulders. Is he going to be finally starting to live up to his draft pedigree? You know, I'm just glad he's back. That's the most important thing. I was worried he was going to go to the route of, you know, Max Strus, who we still haven't seen, or, you know, I guess we got Ty Jerome back. So some of these like eternal injury report guys are finally back. But I do think Scoot, the rest of the season, there's a lot riding on Portland's future based off how he plays.
I really want to just see, I want to see him shoot. That's my big thing. I just want to see him keep shooting. You know, that's going to be the key to his career. And I don't know that he's ever going to be a plus shooter, but he has to shoot. And so we'll see what happens. But again, he's been fun, man.
Shooter like he was the other night.
Right. He's been fun, though. It's great. It's, again, it's added something at a time during the season when you need some positive stuff.
Coming up after this quick ad break, we're going to talk Kahn versus Cooper for Rookie of the Year. We're going to talk about Charlotte and see how much they're going to continue rising. We've got a few other storylines that you should keep an eye on. But first, here's a quick ad break. Want to know why betting on winter games on FanDuel just makes sense? From game lines to medal counts to finding your angle on the events you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. The winter games are on. There's no better way to follow them than with a bet on FanDuel. Curling matches that start slow and somehow get tense fast. I don't even know how they get tense, but trust me, if you got a bet on it, they're going to get tense. Speed skating decided by inches, hockey games that feel different than the opening faceoff, and so much more. FanDuel, play your game. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC, KY, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? What did you want to grow up to be? I actually had this dream of writing about basketball, talking about basketball from a very young age. If I ever wasn't part of the Athletic and was branching out and trying to figure out my own NBA podcast, something like that, I would start with Shopify. If you're thinking about starting your own business, Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Shopify even powers the ALLCITY merch store. Shopify has got you covered with website creation, product descriptions, email and social media marketing, and more. They also have AI tools designed to help you maximize sales. If you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Welcome back to the All NBA show. We've got a race, man. We've got a race Dave DuFour. It's Cooper Flagg. It's Knueppel. This is something that is absolutely not even close to being decided right now. Who's going to win Rookie of the Year between the two? Both have excellent cases. Cooper obviously is doing it on a team that is losing more. His efficiency numbers haven't been as good, but he's averaging 32 points over his last 6 games. I mean, if that continues,
he's also
I don't know
the guy.
Anyway. Yeah,
he's the guy, right? And Khan is one of a couple of guys. And I think
on the flip side, what
too.
Khan is doing, his efficiency is mind-blowing. And as of right now, if Cooper doesn't continue, and again, Cooper might just continue this, and I think he would lock it up if he averages 32 the rest of the season, which he probably won't. But are we totally sure we can roll that out?
It's not outside the realm of possibility.
Right.
Somebody's got to score on that team.
But yeah, Khan has been awesome. Quite frankly, I think today, right now, in this moment, I would ever so slightly lean towards Knueppel. And he's going to have the argument, and we're going to talk about Charlotte next, but he's going to have the argument if Charlotte keeps winning that he is doing it on a good team. Mm-hmm. And that does matter. It does matter what you're doing impacts winning. It's not Cooper's fault that it's not. You know, this is a horrific roster. The Mavericks, especially with all these injuries, it's just not really built around him. It wasn't built around him. No. It's gonna be a fun one. I am really enjoying catching as many games of both these two just absolute studs as I can.
Yeah, Khan has gotten to the point where every time he takes a shot, I expect it to go in. I mean, that is.
I agree.
Something.
Yeah. I had that realization watching the Detroit game where it's just like he doesn't miss these.
No, his footwork is excellent. I mean, the shot is so quick. He's not bothered when people are closing out on him. And then he could put it on the floor and he could pull up in the mid-range. He can get to the basket. He's a good passer. He's a good screener. He's just a really good basketball player. And you can tell he's played with guys like Cooper before because he's such a good complementary player also. Brandon Miller has benefited from playing with Knueppel just as much as Knueppel has benefited from playing with Brandon Miller. And LaMelo, obviously, I think LaMelo is having the best stretch of his career the last 15 games or so. I just think the way that he's been playing is something that people should pay attention to. But a lot of that is because Khan was good right away. I mean, early December, he looked like a real NBA player. Was a starter day one, just pretty obvious, has the body and everything. Yeah, I would put Khan as I'd give him a head start right now. You got to see how Cooper comes out of the break off this foot injury because, I do worry about that. I mean, his rookie year, most games he's ever played in the season, right? Like we're getting late in the year for him. I know these guys play year round, but it's not NBA basketball, and it's a different intensity. And so I want to see, like, is this going to be a thing that lingers? I mean, it's not like you can avoid using your foot when you're playing basketball. So hopefully when he comes back from the break, he's nice and healthy, and we get to see him push. Because I do think 30 a game is a nice goal for him to finish the season. I feel like that could be something Jason Kidd, you don't say that out loud necessarily, but I do think feeding him, which is something that Kidd has been dedicated to this season, I think that he would benefit from it a lot. He's going to get all the attention anyway. Let's see what he can do with it.
Yeah, and he's going to need to keep hitting his threes if he's going to be that echelon of scoring. He's been 46% over the past, 6 games that he's averaged over 30. We'll see if that holds. People are always going to point to the defense gap between Kahn and Cooper. I don't think it's quite as big as people are making it out to be. I would describe Kahn as a incredibly polished plus defender. And he makes rookie mistakes. But much like his offensive game, he is just so polished on that end, and really good team defender, rarely messing up, and he's just in the right spots, even if he's never going to be all defense. Cooper Flagg is going to make an all defensive team, or I feel pretty confident he's going to have chances to.
Yeah.
I would describe him right now as a very unpolished, much higher ceiling type guy. And as much as he gets some wow blocks and steals in moments, I don't think that he is yet making a steady, consistent, consistently disruptive, impact on the defensive end. It's going to get there. It's definitely there at times. I'm just saying what I've seen, and some of this just comes from the fact that, he's been thrust into this point guard role, this number one option role, which he was told he wasn't going to have to start the year. He's been thrust in that role, and he's reacted to it, and he has, put so much focus on that I am positive the defense is coming, and he's still been a good defender. I'm just saying that.
Listen, his motor is elite. His skills are pretty high. I think that this is just normal. What you see is like normal rookie stuff. But the thing is, some of these highlight plays, they come from trying things, and then his elite motor. Chet Holmgren was like this, and Chet, I would say right now, like Chet is probably in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year. He's been amazing this season. But Cooper Flagg has the benefit of being big, being a freak athlete, and the high motor. And those 3 things, I mean, if you can do those 3 things, which, not a lot of guys can, I think that you can be an elite defender. It's not like there is an effort component. And as he gets smarter about how NBA offenses work, and the way that defenses need to rotate, I think he's going to make fewer and fewer mistakes. We see Wemby making mistakes, but he has the 8.5-foot wingspan to make up for those mistakes. Cooper Flagg, I think, is going to have the foot speed to make up for those mistakes in similar ways, but I don't think he'll have the luxury of making mistakes a whole lot longer.
Yeah, and you said Cooper is just a normal rookie in that sense. Knueppel is an abnormal rookie. That's kind of what this is going to come down to.
Yeah, I would agree.
How do you feel about Charlotte? They've been the most fun team. Yeah, like the most fun team to watch throughout last month. Do you see this continuing? Do you think that this is only like how far do they rise in the Eastern Conference?
They're 3 games under 500 now. They're 3 games under 500. They're the 9 seed as we're recording. I don't know. I think that they can be in the mix for the 7 and 8. They're not that much further off from Miami, 2.5 games, and then 3 games behind Orlando. And the thing that Charlotte has, they have offense and defense. This run that they've been on, like the last 10, 11 games, I mean, they've been the best offense in the league and a top 5 defense. It's gone under the radar, but these guys can hang 140 on you, and they can keep you to 110. So I think they've got a pretty good shot. You look at Orlando, they're a little bit of a mess right now. I mean, they lost to the Bucks the other night. Cam Thomas lit them up, and they're healthy. And if you look at Miami, they just have been just stuck in this middle for so long that it's easy to overlook them and forget them. But also, they're beatable, extremely beatable. So, yeah, I think Charlotte has nothing to lose for, right? They have everything pointing them in the direction.
Going for it. They're gunning for it.
Absolutely. Try to win as many games as you can, right? So I think that motivation, and these guys are young, hungry. I mean, you think about LaMelo, this is some of the first time in his NBA career where he's playing meaningful games. And look at him, right? I mean, he has been, look, you've known me for a long time. I've been rooting for LaMelo Ball to be a thing since he came in the league, because I do think that his joy is infectious and it's fun to watch. And his creativity is something I love listening to broadcasts, because they always bring this up. When he makes a mistake, it's like, man, LaMelo's he's thinking 10 steps ahead of everyone. And it is true. Like, basketball people, I think, know that. But there's the knuckleheadedness that holds him back. And man, it looks like he's dropping that. And that's fun. I find
I hope he doesn't drop it completely. I want 10%.
He needs.
I want 10% of that. I want 10% of Melo being Melo.
Well,
and then I don't want him to lose his amazing winning player he is.
Yes, but you watch him at the end of games now, and if he gets a big, he's looking to get to the basket. I mean, he finishes the game a couple weeks ago with a dunk, right? It's like, this is sealing the deal. Two-handed dunk in the lane in traffic, and that kind of seriousness has been lacking from him. So I'm loving everything right now. I think Charles Lee should be one of the front runners for Coach of the Year. Although this season there's a lot of guys that you can maybe, it's going to be a long list of Coach of the Year guys. Don't forget what Jordan Ott's doing out in Phoenix. But man, I love the vibe there too. It seems like whatever personality conflicts were happening, it feels like the winning has really helped smooth that over. And frankly, Charles Lee's message has clearly gotten through. These guys are hooping.
It's going to be a fun storyline. It's going to be a huge storyline down the stretch if Charlotte keeps winning. Trading for Kobe White and him immediately having a calf injury, that's a bummer. Trey Mann does not totally cut it as a backup point guard.
I don't know, man. I love Trey Mann, and also like Trey Mann, when he comes on the court, his appearance is so different than everyone else. It's kind of a throwback look. It feels like he came out of the late 90s. So I also like that.
It's very Iverson. It's very Iverson. Yeah. He plays very Iverson. Yeah. No, absolutely. But I would say the production does not match, unfortunately, how cool his look is. The other bummer part of that trade is that I'm not convinced Colin Sexton wasn't having a better season than Kobe White throughout the course of this year. I think Kobe has a slightly higher ceiling. Mm-hmm. I think he makes a little bit more sense if LaMelo is out to run that team than Colin Sexton did. But just in terms of I think if Colin Sexton was still on that roster, they probably beat Detroit in the brawl game. I think the margins were that small, and not having Colin Sexton, hopefully Kobe White is back soon. He's supposed to be, but certainly the All-Star break helps. But that's one small bummer. Jayson Tatum, that's another storyline that we're obviously going to maybe get sick of, except for the fact that it doesn't seem like it's fake. I thought starting this year that we'd have this storyline popping up every month and then he just wouldn't come back. And I guess my hunch is that he still doesn't, but it is quite possible Jayson Tatum steps back on a basketball court this year. And I think that completely changes what Boston is. Right now, they've got the third best point differential, fourth best record. It's a little bit fake. They're just so good at beating bad teams. If you look at their record against the top teams, they're 8-9. They're minus 0.7 per 100 possessions net rating. That's seventh in the league. You can see a few of the cracks. You can see that they're just missing an all NBA talent, which they might just get back to the end of the year.
Well, and I don't think he'll be all NBA from the jump. And I would guarantee he would be on a very low minutes threshold, at least during the regular season, depending on when he came back. But I mean, I've read the same stuff you have. Apparently, he looked good in the 5-on-5 full contact scrimmage with the G League team. That's a great sign. I would say I don't think he's doing this for no reason. Whether that means he comes back or not, I think he must be feeling like he could come back. But also, the guy really probably just wants to hoop. At the end of the day, most NBA players will play basketball for free, right? They do it in the summer. And I think Tatum is one of these guys. So I imagine he just wanted to get out there and play. And this is one way to do it in a safe environment where you can trust everyone. You know what I mean? And he can have a little bit of competition, which is good, right? It's not playing against coaches. You're playing against players, and there's pride involved. And I think that that's important. Let him test himself under circumstances that are controlled, but much more, it's more realistic. It's at least closer to NBA game speed than it would be playing against assistants or, development guys. And so I love the idea of this. I hope he doesn't feel pressure to come back if he's not ready, but I am rooting for him to come back and be awesome right away, because it would be such a great story. And I think, I kind of miss Jayson Tatum and Deuce being on the court. It's one of these things that actually the NBA has a lot of wholesome moments that you don't think about often, but I think Jayson Tatum being out there is good for the NBA. And frankly, I like the idea of the chaos that it would introduce into the Eastern Conference playoffs, because I think the Celtics could come out of the East without Jayson Tatum. But if Jayson Tatum's out there, all of a sudden, now you got yourself a stew. I think it would be pretty fun.
Yeah. Tatum, gets knocked for being a little bit corny sometimes. Being maybe a little bit annoying. I do think this is an absence. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
For sure.
I do like that dude. I really do like that dude. And him not being around as much this year, I think has reinforced that to me. And it totally changes the Eastern Conference outlook if he's able to come back at 75, 80% of who he was last year with a minute total that's ramping up as the playoffs go on. Like, I don't quite believe in this team, at least more than, I don't believe in them more than Detroit, than New York, even with New York's inconsistency and weirdness. I'm not even sure right now, without Tatum, I believe in them more than Cleveland. I just think that, this insanely impressive season Boston is having, some of it is just how, like I said, just how disciplined they are against bad teams. And we've seen their matchups against the best teams in the East. We've seen them lose them.
Yeah. Cleveland with Harden is a different beast, man. I mean, that's a different beast than it was before. But man, I'm rooting for another fun story. And I think that him coming back would be great.
I'm going to go through some quick hitters, just storylines we're going to see from now until April, until the first game of the playoffs gets underway. James Harden in Cleveland is absolutely one of them. I still really love that team. And I think James Harden has the ability to not single-handedly take them to another level. They were at that level last season. James Harden helps them unlock what they were last season. I think that is absolutely possible. And if they're coming out of the East, if they're facing whoever comes out of the West in the finals, at this point, that's just would not be surprising to me at all.
Yeah, they need another guy who can play, and it helps that he's a bigger guard who can't really be like, you're not going to pick on James Harden in the way that Darius Garland gets picked on. Just makes it easier job for the defense to hold up. And again, like Jared Allen has looked awesome next to Harden, as expected. And so I just think their offense gets a little bit easier. When Mitchell needs a breather, you just hand Harden the ball, and you don't have to worry about the offense dropping off at all.
Anthony Black, I think, is another storyline. His shooting has dipped just a little bit, under 30% on threes the past 6 games. Obviously, he's been in the midst of a kind of mid-season breakout. I think how high he rises will help Orlando when they go into summer, where they're going to have questions about, like Paolo, Suggs, Bane make a combined $155 million next season. The salary cap is $165 million. Anthony Black will be on the last year of his rookie deal. But how big of an extension you're giving him, and also just like how good he's able to, can he sustain this the rest of the year? Because if he sustains this, that gives you a different feeling about him and about how to build this team, whether you have more confidence in saying, Franz, Paolo, Bane, one of those 3 guys probably has to go. Maybe it is Suggs. I think he's kind of the skeleton key to the success that Orlando has had. But we've seen even that highest level of success, they haven't sustained like some contention level, even for a month at a time. A lot of that's been injuries, but I have no confidence in this core 4. So they're going to go into the summer thinking about which one of them does Anthony Black slot into, unless he just really regresses and just isn't, maybe this was a little bit flukier. I don't think it was. And I don't think these past 6 games, just shooting a little bit worse on threes, from what I've seen of him, like the confidence is still there. I think he is really real. I think everything he's shown is real this season. But I think that's a huge question, how he plays the rest of the year for Orlando's future.
For sure. I don't know if he's forced Suggs out the door the most important guy on that team. That when Jalen,
I hope
Suggs
he hasn't, because they do
on
different
the court,
things.
right? When Jalen Suggs is on the court, that team is completely different than when he's off. I think the real conversation they got to figure out is Franz or Paolo. That's the question. It's not the other guys. You're not giving up all those draft picks for one season of Desmond Bane. Frankly, I think that you got to figure out, is this a Paolo team or is this a Franz team?
Other storylines, we're going to get some more All-Star game.
Oh, you didn't want to answer that one, Tim?
Week. No, I agree. I agree. I mean,
I meant you didn't want to pick one.
No, I think it's Paolo. You know, or I think you choose Franz. I think you move on from Paolo.
I tend to agree.
But that's what all the nerds think. So I'm pretty predictable in that answer.
Yeah. I think Paolo could be an
overwhelming,
really good player in the right circumstance. But I don't think Orlando's close to that.
It's 100% that. Like, it's not just I'm fully out on
fit.
Paolo.
Oh, it's a fit.
I'm fully out on Paolo as the Orlando Magic are constructed, and I don't think there's any amount of tweaking and switching unless they tear the entire team down around Paolo. It's kind of like is it easier to get rid of the coach or the players? You can't get rid of all the players. And if Paolo doesn't work with these players, it does make sense to move on from him, because otherwise you're moving on from too much of the team.
Yeah.
And I just don't think Paolo has proven that level of superstardom.
I agree
at
with
all to warrant that.
Yep.
Other storylines, quick hitters, toss any in if you have them. I think Io DeSumo, how he fits in Minnesota. Minnesota is absolutely the sleepiest contender in the West. Sometimes literally the sleepiest if you see how they play on an off night. But that's you can question the process of how they got him, but that's going to be a storyline.
They're a team that's kind of unserious, but once the playoffs hit, they are as serious as a heart attack. I mean, I think that they match up so well versus OKC. They match up, as we know, very well against the Nuggets, and the Nuggets having all the health issues that they've had this season. I like the Wolves a lot in the West, and I've been high on them, and even through their unseriousness, still high on them.
We're probably going to have All-Star Game discourse yet again. It's already starting up. All-Star Game has not even come yet, of course, but it's not going to work. We're going to be next week's going to be full of people.
I have refused
new ideas.
Yeah, I've refused to learn the entire format of this year's because it's just going to change. It doesn't matter. Nobody's even going to play. I would rather just go back to the old East versus West, because at least you can say this is the tradition, and I don't know, it just makes sense. When you have to explain things too much, you just get into a point where, like, okay, this is convoluted for no good reason. The big thing they need to do, find a way to get stars to be involved in the dunk contest if you're going to keep doing it. The truth is, the death of the dunk contest is part of why people don't care about All-Star Weekend. I think you got to do that. It's not competitiveness in an All-Star game. Like, the NFL has totally given up on the Pro Bowl. At what point does the NBA do that? Make it a rock and jock rules game. It doesn't matter. Have them play flag football like the NFL does. It doesn't matter.
One last storyline, a cool one, and it should be presented and trumpeted as such. Nikola Topic coming back from a cancer diagnosis and chemo and beating that, and he's back on the court in the G League. Will at some point, I would assume, make his
he's playing
NBA debut.
He's playing it tonight. He's making his NBA debut Thursday night. So we're not going to see it before this comes out, obviously, but I will watch it. This is one of the best stories of the year. This kid tore his ACL before he got to play an NBA game, did all the rehab. Everybody's excited to see him. We keep hearing how amazing he is, and then diagnosed with testicular cancer. Man, this is an awesome story. Again, like Jayson Tatum, if he comes back, great story. Like, we like to root for this stuff. This dude has been really good in these 2 G League games, and somehow, like, the Thunder just keep getting richer is another story here, by the way. So yeah, I'm gonna be glued onto that game tonight for sure. It's the only game worth watching, and it's really only worth watching for Cam Thomas and Nikola Topic. So enjoy the All-Star break, everybody.
Dave, thanks for doing this. Dave is the host of the Athletics NBA Daily podcast. It's great talking through this with you today.
Yeah.
And Adam Mares will be back next week. I'm Tim Cato. national NBA writer at ALLCITY. Thanks for listening.
We all silly like the mayor.